I got an email a couple of days ago from a friend back home in Canada with the subject line, "Your book was like a 2x4 upside my head." Michael McLean, brassballsvideos.com. You can download a free copy of my new book, 5 Ways to Unfuck Your Life in the Next Month. The link is below. It's brassballsvideos.com. It's a 22-page digital book. There's nothing to buy. There's no fancy sales page or funnel. Just click on the link and give me your email, and I will email you a copy of the book within 5 minutes. Like I said, there's nothing else to buy. It's about 22 pages. No fluff, no theory, none of that stuff. Just my thoughts on 5 ways to really help you get your shit together in the next month and get climbing that next mountain. The link is below, brassballsvideos.com. So I got an email a few days ago from a friend of mine. I know her because I coach her kids in ice hockey, and I have for the last 3-4 years. And she bought my book, How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in Business and in Life, 2-3 years ago. And she wasn't the type of person who buys books. She's a small business owner, one-person operation. She's married with a couple of children, and she lives in our small community back in Canada. And we've been friends for probably about 3 years now. I met her through hockey when her son and daughter both signed up for our my ice hockey camp every Sunday. And at the time, we became pretty good friends. I have a lot in common with other entrepreneurs. I'd see her once a week. We'd have some laughs. We'd talk about business, about marketing, all this kind of stuff. But one of the things that I noticed after I started to see her consistently once or twice a week is I immediately flagged her as a person who had a drinking problem. And you know, if you've ever battled with addiction in any form, you have a spider sense for these things, whether it's, you know, weed or smoke or gambling or pornography or alcohol or drugs. You have a sixth sense, like a spider sense for this kind of stuff. So in her case, she had a lot of tells. She would, you know, send emails to the hockey account late at night. You could tell that she was a different person after 6 p.m. at night. The kind of things that she would do during the day as a mother would be completely different at night. And you could tell that she was drinking or using or whatever. So it was interesting because ever since I broke up with alcohol almost 2 years ago, and I've done it pretty privately. Like I just stopped. I got rid of alcohol in my life. I get rid of people that drink a lot. There's no alcohol in our homes. And I just walked away. It no longer served me anymore. So I broke up and curated and swift sword alcohol out of my life almost 2 years ago. So I'll have people, I tell my wife Krista, people will sidle up beside me here in Naples, back home in Canada, at the rink, at the ballpark, at the tennis courts, and they'll sidle up beside me. Tip of the hat to the great Jerry Seinfeld for that sidling episode back on Seinfeld in the day. And people will just, I never talk about it, right? I've mentioned it a few times on these videos, but I don't preach it. I don't talk about it. I just mind my own business. If somebody's serious about talking about, maybe they drink too much, maybe they smoke too much, whatever it is, whatever their vices are that are slowly killing them, I'm more than happy to share my story. My story isn't unique, but I mean, if it's helpful, it's helpful. But the person has to be serious about changing. So this woman, about 2 years ago, sidled up beside me. She actually dropped by where I work in the house. She knew where I was because of hockey. And one morning I'm sitting in there and I'm reading my book. I'm in the house. This is the home office I used. Pretty much a brand new empty house. And I was just sitting there one morning and her car comes in the driveway and she comes in and she's talking a little bit and whatever. And she says, finally she gets to the point and she says, I hear that you stopped drinking. And I said, yeah, I don't use, I have a new rule. I don't consume alcohol. And that's that. Decision made, cut off, end of story. And she seemed pretty fascinated about how I did it. So I told her a little bit about it, but I don't think she's serious, right? So I don't spend a lot of time on it. And she tells me, I'm thinking of slowing down. That's a red flag. You're not serious. Then she said, well, I'm not going to drink during the weeks. Not serious. I'm thinking of keeping it to a couple of drinks. And this is a person who she admitted she drinks 6 nights a week, which means 7. She said, she drinks 5 or 6 drinks, which means 10. Basically, she passes out every night. And she's married to a good guy with a good job. She's got 2 children, put the children to bed. You have a bottle of wine at dinner. Your husband has to partake because, every night you're sitting there 3 sheets to the wind, as my grandfather would say. And, and basically you wake up the next day and you don't remember your evening with your husband. So this was her life. But I could sense she wasn't serious about changing. So I did the only thing that I do in those situations. I wanted to see whether she'd put some skin in the game and whether she was eventually, going to be serious about curating and swift sorting this toxicity out of her life. So I said to her, listen, if you really want to do something, I said, buy my book. It's $100, and I want her to have skin in the game. I'm not going to give her a book. I'm not going to gift her a book. I said, in that book is everything you need to change anything you want in your life. You want to lose weight. You want to make money. You want to improve your marriage. You want to improve your relationship with your kids. You want to build a legacy of service. You want to become a millionaire. You want whatever you want to do, whatever you say you want to do, transform your life, whatever it is you're talking about. In her case, quitting drinking, I said it's in the book. So instead of me sitting here, buy the book, take it to heart and whatever. So I checked with Marc Andre and it was, she actually did what I said, which most people, they're not serious, they're not going to do it. And she purchased the book. And, she buys $100, she gets the t-shirt, she gets the physical book. It's 300 pages. The title of the book is, by the way, if you don't know, How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in Business and Life. It's my 25 rules, badass rules, for living life and doing business on your own terms. If you ever want to finally live life and do business on your own terms, this is the book that'll help you do it. It's my 25 rules. You can use 1 or 2 of these rules and it'll literally transform any of your area of your life. I don't care what you want to do. This book will help you do it. And you can get a copy. It's like $99 with one of these $70 t-shirts thrown in. I don't make any money on the book. It's a physical book. You get it shipped to your door at nobullbook.com. I think the link is below. nobullbook.com. So she buys the book and she reads it immediately. She's one of those entrepreneurs. She reads it. She sends me a couple of emails. We're back in Naples. This is last year. So we're back in Naples after Christmas 2023, a year ago. And she sends me a couple emails that I read the next day about the book. And I don't read them till the next day because I don't check my phone until lunch. So I read these emails on my MacBook and I'm like, drinking. Like, you can see how the communication disintegrates as the emails go on. I'm so proud of you. I can't believe you wrote a book, and all this stuff into whatever. Makes no difference. Tomato can stuff. This is what alcohol does. Alcohol does what alcohol does. It makes people less. The conversations disintegrate. The thinking disintegrates. The professionalism disintegrates, the whole 9 yards. So I actually took the time, after she sent me a couple more emails, about a month later, I replied and I said, you're not a serious person. You're not a serious person when it comes to changing this in your life. You say you want to change it, but I don't believe you do. She said, I said, you talk a good game, but you don't play a good game. And I said, I can tell that if I went in your fridge right now, that'll tell me all I need to know about how serious you are about not drinking alcohol. If I went into your garage, I'd see. If I talked to your husband, if I talked to your children, if I saw your environment and the people you're hanging out with, if I saw any and all of it, I would come away and say, you're not serious about this. Your environment says, and your associates say, that you're not serious about this. So it was really interesting. She read the book, and it planted the seed. So a lot of times people aren't serious. They're not ready to lose the weight. They're not ready to send a daily email. They're not ready to date their wife. They're not ready to stop drinking and smoking, or whatever you want to call it. They're not ready to say goodbye to their vices. And this was her case. And this was my case for a long time as well. So she said to me a few times by email, she said, well, I don't drink during the week now. Well, that's a sign she doesn't want to break up with what she considers her best friend. And this goes on for all the time we're here. We're here for 5-6 months last year. And I don't put any time or effort into it. But just before the last time I talked to her, I said, last summer when we were home, I said, I went to that team barbecue function, whatever it was that we were at. And I said, the condition you were at the end of that barbecue, at the end of that cookout for the hockey players, I said, if you could remember that, I don't think you would want anybody that you respect to see you ever in that condition. And I wrote it in an email. I said, I'm pretty sure that your husband was embarrassed. I'm pretty sure your 2 children were humiliated. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to watch that movie, a replay of that movie, and you don't remember it. So I said, you need to look in the mirror and decide, are you going to tolerate this for the next 10 years, the next 20 years, the next 30 years? Is this the way this is going to play out? Is this the way your children are going to be raised? Is this the way your marriage is going to be? Because in the end, alcohol will do what alcohol does. It'll end your marriage. It'll end your relationship with your children, or they'll become you. And it'll get to the point where you're sedating, you're medicating, and to the point where, it takes over your life until it ends it. Alcohol wants you alone. Alcohol wants you depressed. Alcohol wants you sick. Alcohol wants you dead. Those are Matthew Perry's words. The late, great Matthew Perry of Friends, not mine. Alcohol wants you sick. It wants you alone. It wants you depressed. It wants you dead. And that's what alcohol does. Alcohol does what alcohol's designed to do. So we go back last year, 1st of June, as always. And the very first day, I'm back in the house where I work in town, and I'm sitting in the front window are sitting in the front room with the sunshine coming in. I'm reading my book. I got my cup of coffee. I'm there. I've only been there 5 minutes. And she pulls in the driveway. And I haven't heard from her in a few months. There was nothing after that email that I told her she was embarrassing herself. There was nothing. I said, you're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing your children. You're embarrassing your husband. You're embarrassing your family name. I had not heard one thing since I was clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And so I go to the door. I just got back and I'm sitting there and she walks right in. I answer the door and she literally launches towards me and gives me the biggest grizzly bear hug I've ever got in my life. I mean, I'm not the most huggable person. I mean, if you ask anybody that knows me, like I can be a prickly character, but man, oh man, she just gave me the biggest grizzly bear hug a person could ever receive. And she had this massive smile on her face. And when she was done squeezing me to death, she goes, I haven't had a drink in over 1 month. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, tell me this isn't the best news I've heard in the 5 minutes I've been home. I come in here with my cup of coffee, I get a bear hug from somebody I haven't seen in months, and you tell me you've been sober for over 30 days. And I could tell she wasn't bullshitting me. She looked fantastic. So we go through this year at home up until New Year's, and I kept checking in with her. I see her, I have her kids in hockey again, and I'm always checking in with her, week to week. If she wants to talk, that's fine. I don't pressure, I don't talk about it. And she just kept saying, I said, it's all about getting through the first year. I said, the first Christmas, the first Valentine's Day, the first birthday, the first Easter, the first, St. Patrick's Day. And I said, once you get through that first year, I said, it becomes much simpler. So she just keeps winning. She's like, she took everything in the book to heart, and her environment was crystal clean. Like the fridge, the garage, no alcohol in her house. She said to me, I said, is there any alcohol? No, but the only alcohol is my husband has a 6-pack out in the garage in case somebody stops over. I said, get rid of the 6-pack. I said, go 100%, zero zilch. Don't have that even in your house. I said, is your husband on board? She said, I spoke to him and he's 200% in. He's 200% in. He knew that we were losing each other. He didn't want to, he would end up just going to bed at night instead of sitting there. He had to be up early every day. Instead of sitting there and listening to that horse shit, fighting and arguing, he just started going to bed at 8:30 and leaving her sitting there talking to herself and drinking. So he was all in. And that's a big part of recovery, is asking your secret weapon, queen or husband or whoever it is, to get them on, to get them all in. And that part is simpler than you think. Like that's the most important decision I ever had with my wife, is like to get her all in. And of course, they're like, of course, we'll do everything we can. So she did all those things. She talked to her kids, she talked to her husband, she got everybody in the family on board. And they kept it quiet. There wasn't any announcement or anything like that. And I get an email here, the second last day of April, so just a few days ago. And she goes, I just want to let you know that your book was the 2x4 upside the side of the head that I really needed. I didn't want to listen to it. I didn't want to accept it. I didn't like the message. I didn't like you. I didn't like the truthfulness. She said, but I must admit, you're the only person in my life that told me the fucking truth. She goes, nobody else had the brass to say, you know what? This is not okay. This is not okay for your family name, for your children, for your husband, and most importantly for you. None of this is okay. And she said, you are the only person that had the courage to say, the way you're acting, especially at night, is not a way you would like people to see you normally. You're embarrassing your husband, you're embarrassing your children, you're embarrassing yourself. She goes, plus the book, Planting the Seed on How to Do It. She said, I was upset for several weeks, a couple of months after you sent me that email telling me that I was embarrassing myself. She said, and the book, the 2x4 Upside the Head, if you want to change your life, change it. And she said, I just want to send this email to thank you. Tomorrow is 365 days sober. I have not had a drop of alcohol in 1 year and counting. And she said, you know, I congratulate her. I said, great job. I said, that's 365 wins. And I said, when we were done, when I was done congratulating her and all that other stuff, I said, you know, you're responsible for this, not me. The book maybe plants the seed, but in the end, you have to do the work. You need to want it. You need to need it. And she said to me, she said, the truth has set me free. The truth has set me free. And then before I was done in coaching fashion, I said, okay, the 365, that's wonderful, that's great. Done. What's next? What's next? Is this it? Is this the California sober? Oh, I do a dry, that goofy California sober stuff you see online for people that are just lying to themselves. Oh, I'm going drink free in January. Oh, I'm doing a dry February. That's for people that just aren't serious about winning. Winning is not their sport. I call that California sober. That's when you quit drinking, but you go on 7 medications. Or you go on you get off medications and you start drinking. Or you stop drinking and now you medicate with pot or smoke or whatever it is. California sober. You're no more sober than the guy that's 3 sheets to the wind on Crown Royal. So I left that seed. I planted that seed for her and I challenged her and I said, okay, 365, what's next? She said 366. I said, there you go. That's what it's all about. 365 and oh, great job, done. Who cares? What's next? And that's what we need as entrepreneurs and as leaders. So what? Done. What's next? What's the next mountain? What's the next climb? What's the next goal? What's the next mission? What's the next, what's the next challenge? And that's what'll keep a person like that on the right track. And I said, once you get some more days and months under your belt, I said, you want me to give you the second part of the secret besides the everyday violent consistency, compounding? I said, the second part, I said, will be serving other people. I said, I share my story with people that are serious because I know I owe. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I know I owe. I stand on the shoulders of giants in marketing, in money, in business. People from my mom, my dad, Wayne Maxner, my mentor, Gene Newsom, my family, Tony Robbins, Dan Kennedy, you name it. I stand on the shoulders of these giants. So I know I owe. So every day I get up and I serve other people because I know I owe. I've been blessed with these great teachers, these great parents, these great allies, so I know I owe. So it's the same thing I said in recovery. I said, if you want to stay sober, I said the next step, once you got your feet under you, is you know you owe. You know you owe. If I helped you in any way, or the book helped you in any way, or anybody else helped you in any other way, you know you owe. And I said, people are going to start sidling up to you, just the old Seinfeld. And I said, don't be, she said, it's already happening. She says, people will come up to me at the game or the ballpark or at a family reunion, and they'll say, you know, it's all in whispers. You know, I heard you don't drink anymore. How did you do it? And I'm like, there's a chance for you to serve somebody else, to help somebody else. I warned her, it's a process. Most people aren't ready. Most people aren't serious. But I said, you can plant the seed in their head. My book planted the seed. You weren't ready. My story planted the seed. And then when you were ready, months later, you had the tools to do the job. I said, do that for people. When they sidle up to you, you're not preaching. You just share your story. You talk about, you know, how you did it, and you talk about all the things you've gained. I said, have you given up anything this year? She goes, I've given up nothing. I literally was afraid to break up with and Swiss sword this poison out of my life because I thought I was saying goodbye to my best friend, and I felt the same way. She goes, I didn't give up anything now that I look upon it. She says, when the bad wolf comes around, she goes, I sit down with a piece of paper and I put it into two parts, and I put, what have I given up? And the only thing I write in the left-hand column is alcohol, poison, and then hangovers, bad health, money. And then I'm like, all the things you gain. And she's like, I have like 15 to 20 things. I've got my mornings back. I've got my mental health back. I've got my emotional health back. I've lost 20 pounds. I've reconnected with my creator. I've got a better relationship with my two kids. My marriage is on fire. I sleep better. My anxiety's gone. My depression's gone. My business is up 70%. This kind of stuff. And in the other column, what you gave up, depression, anxiety, you know, all this other horse shit that just ruins your life. Arguing and bitching and chewing, all that talks is. So she's like, that's what I do when the bad wolf comes to visit. I just do my columns. What did I give up and what did I get? And she says, then I'm right back on it. I said, share that with other people you know you owe. And I said, that's the next step in your recovery. Whatever it is we do in this world, whether it's marketing, money, health, wealth, addiction, whatever it is, diet, exercise, when you stand on the shoulders of other giants in books, in courses, in masterminds, in friendships, make sure that you know you owe and find a way to help other people. Find a way to help other people every single day. So that's it. You can get a copy of my book. It's not everybody's cup of whiskey, so to speak. NoBullBook.com. It's $100. I'll throw in one of these t-shirts if you buy it today. It's a 300-page book. It's for champions. It's not for chumps. It's for contenders, not pretenders. NoBullBook.com. The link will be below. If you want a free copy of my brand new book, 5 Ways to Unfuck Your Life in the Next 30 Days, you can get a free copy of that also in the link below. BrassBallsVideos.com. That's it for today. Another day here in Naples, in Paradise City, as Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses would say. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change yours. Be relentless.